Okay, here are the, or here is the video notes for the page 19 in our chapter 8 packet. So now we're talking about, okay, so maybe no context to the question, we just have points and we're trying to figure out what the equation is between them. So previously what we did was we made a table. Typically though, we were given two values right in a row. So now we have a situation where the two values aren't necessarily right in a row. So I'm going to go ahead and follow these directions up at the top. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. And then you can decide how you want to do this as you proceed. So first thing I want to look at are the points that are given to me. So I've got the point 0, 3. And I like this point because it is 0, comma. If it's 0, comma, then I know that this is a y-intercept. If this is a y-intercept, then I know that this is the 0th term, which means for my equation, this is a. So the y value that I got from that. So really don't have a huge amount of work to do there, which is really kind of nice. That doesn't always work out that way. In this case, it did. Moving on to the next point that we have 4, 48. Well, with 4, 48, there's nothing really special about that point. This is just an x, comma, y. So if it was 0, comma, like the other one was, then we know that it's a y-intercept. This one, there's no zeros here, so we don't have anything special going on. So what I would do at this point is I would plug in everything that I know into the equation. So if I take out my equation ab to the x, y equals, I know that I have a value for y. I have a value for a, which is kind of nice. I don't have a value for b. I'm probably going to have to find that. And I have a value for x. Now the only time I would go straight to this is if, so only if I already know a, x, and y. If I don't know what those are, I wouldn't follow this route. But from here, I can go ahead and solve for b. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. 3's cancel. That's going to give me 16 is equal to b to the 4th. Now, to get rid of the 4th power, I'm going to do the 4th root. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. So I'm going to do a root with a little 4 in the crease so that those cancel. I'm going to do that to each side. These guys go away, and that's just going to give me b equals. Now I can type this into my calculator. In order to get to the 4th root, so to do the 4th root of something, you are going to push the math button. If you have a graphing calculator, you can do, in this case, it would be looking for that in the root. Go ahead and select that option, and then move your cursor back on top of where the x is located, and in that spot, type in a 4. Then, on the inside portion, here, you're going to type in the number that you want. So that would be our 16. If we type that in, we should get that b is equal to 2. Now, another way that you could do this without a graphing calculator is that you can do the exponent of, got to make sure that you use parentheses though, of 1/4. So it's just another way to do the same thing. So what you could do is type in 16, then you should, regardless of whether you have a graphing calculator or not, there is a caret key or an option to get to an exponent. And then you're going to want to tell it 1/4. If you can't get some sort of a fraction option on your calculator with the 1/4, remember that you can do 16 to the 1/4 is the same thing as 0.25. I'm pretty sure you can do the fraction option. Okay, so now that we've got like our little tools here, so let's go ahead and box this guy. This was just some calculator tools for us. So if we go back to the problem that we were working on, we have A, and now from the calculations that we did, we know what B is. So I'm going to take what I already know and I'm going to write my equation. So y is equal to A times the B that I got was 2 to the x power. So this is going to be the equation that goes along with this problem. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right, we're on question, wow. Oh, apparently on this page there was no question 3. Sorry about that. Question number 2. All right, if I take a look at these 2 points here, neither one of is 0, comma. So this one's going to be a little bit different. So these points are an x and a y. But then we also have the same situation over here. These points are another x and y. So what I'm going to do here is rewrite the equations, but I'm only going to plug in the x and the y. So I'm going to basically write 2 equations. I'm going to write my yellow equation to go with my yellow point. So if I have the point 3, 48, and I'll write that equation. So 3, 48, that is an x and a y. So I'm going to write the equation that goes with that guy. Y equals, I don't know what A is, I don't know what B is, and I'm going to plug in my x and my y. So y is 48, A, B to the 3rd. Okay, not much more I can do with that right now. So I'm going to do the exact same process with the B equation, or the B point. So I'm going to have, or the blue one, wow, excuse me. So I've got 5, 192. This is another x and another y. All right, so the general form of the equation, and then I'm going to plug everybody in where they go. So that's 192 equals AB to the 5th. All right, so now I have these 2 equations. I've got my yellow equation and I've got my blue equation. When we think about the different algebraic methods that we did when we solved systems of equations earlier, so first chapter this semester, we had substitution and we had elimination. You can do either of those methods if you would like. I'm going to go with elimination. So the first thing that I am going to do here, so here's my thought process. I am going to take a look at the 2 exponents on B. I'm going to take a look at the exponent of 3 and the exponent of 5. And from there, I am going to identify which of those exponents is larger. Well, 5 is clearly larger. Because the 5 is larger, this is the one that I'm going to focus on. With that, whoever has the biggest exponent on B, I'm going to put these 2 equations together, but I'm going to put the one with the biggest exponent on top. I'm going to try some elimination here. So I'm going to put these guys together. So I'll take these 2, put them together, but I'm going to put the blue equation first, only because its exponent is bigger. So I get 192 is equal to AB to the 5th. Then I'm going to take the equation where the exponent is smaller and I'm going to divide. Since this is all multiplication, and I know that to get rid of multiplication, I do division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide. Notice that everything is all stacked up like it was back when we did linear equations. So now I've got my constants on top of my constants, my equals on top of my equals, A's on top of A's, B's on top of B's. Now I'm going to divide. So I'm going to do 192 divided by 48. That's going to give me 4. I know that A divided by A is 1. So those guys are going to cancel. Now I'm going to go back to some of the rules of exponents that I reviewed briefly, prior knowledge from stuff about 7th, 8th grade. Notice that if I'm dividing the B's, then I can keep a single B and I subtract the exponents, top exponent minus bottom exponent. So I'm going to do 5 minus 3, that gives me 2. Now this looks a whole lot better than what I had previously. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the squared. So square root's going to cancel it out. When I square root, I'm going to get b is equal to 2. All right, I've got half of my answer. Now, I still need to find a, but I at least have b. So there's b. All right, now go back to the original equations, either the blue one or the yellow one. It doesn't matter which one. Choose the one that you like the best. I think I'm going to go to the yellow equation only because the numbers are smaller. So I'm going to rewrite the 48 is equal to AB cubed. And I'm going to take what I got for B and I'm going to plug it in. So I'll get 48 is equal to A, plug my B in there. And my B was purple, so let's go ahead and put that in there. Now go ahead and do the math. Notice that the only variable you have in this equation now is A. So I get 48 is equal to A times, well, 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to give me 8. I know to get rid of multiplication, I'm going to do division. The 8's are going to cancel. When I divide, it looks like A is equal to 6. So now I have my other piece of information that I need for the equation. So there's my A. All right, now let's write the actual equation. So I'm going to take my A and my B that I found, and I'm going to rewrite it as y equals. So y equals A times B to the x power, or you can rewrite it as 6 with the dot times 2 to the x. Either way is fine. Now, this next question, not number 3, it's apparently decided not to use that number, is just like the one I just did. So it's just like the yellow and the blue one that I did. So if it were me, I would pause the video at this point and see if I can follow the same steps in the same directions. And then unpause it, and then I'm going to go through and explain it again, so then you can kind of follow the work and see if what you were doing was correct. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the points that I have. Notice that neither one of them is 0, something, so that's going to be my first one. And this is going to be my x and my y. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'll come back to the other guy in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and write the equation that goes with the 2, 14. So with my 2, 14, I know that it's going to be y equals A times B to the x power. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. So I've got my 5, 112. All right, so that is going to be my x, y. All right, so let's take my 5, 112. And I'm going to do the same thing. 112 is equal to AB to the 5th. Then from here, I'm going to identify which one of these has the biggest exponent on B, and that is going to be the green guy. So the green equation is going to go on top. So 112 is equal to AB to the 5th, and then I'm going to divide by my other equation, which was 14 is equal to AB squared. Notice that everybody's nice and stacked up, which is what I want. Then I'm going to go ahead and divide. So let's do 112 divided by 14. That's going to give me 8. Drop the equal sign straight down. A divided by A cancels, it's just 1. And then I'm going to use the property of exponents. So I'm going to keep the b, and then I subtract the exponent. Top exponent minus bottom exponent. Okay, well, that is a 3. Got a little smashed. All right, from here I have to get rid of the exponent of 3. So I'll move this guy over just a little bit. If this is an exponent of 3, I have to do a root, but with a 3 in the crease. Those cancel. I type this into my calculator and I end up with b is equal to 2. So that is one of the pieces of information that I am going to need, b equals 2. Now, go back to the original equations, choose the one that you prefer. I think I'm going to choose the pinkish one only because the numbers are smaller. I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it into 14 is equal to ab squared. So there's 14. I don't know what a is yet. I'll plug a b in there. And b was purple. So I'll go ahead and put my purple in there. And then go ahead and finish solving the equation. So I'm going to get 14 is equal to a times, well, 2 squared is 4. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Those cancel. Notice I'm going to get a fraction here, which is totally fine, totally acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this as 7 over 2. Now I have the final piece of information that I need to be able to write the equation. So now plug in my a and my b. So my equation is going to be y equals my a times the b itself, which was 2 to the x power, or you could rewrite it as 7/2 times 2 to the x. Either is fine.